The dust swirled like Judgment Day in Cedar Ridge's town square as Eleanor Thorne stood before the auction block, her widow's dress stark against the bloodthirsty crowd. "Don't hurt him," she shouted, her voice cutting through the jeers. "I'll buy him." The chained man they called Savage stood proud despite his shackles, and in that moment Eleanor saw what no one else would: a man worth saving. This is their story of defiance, redemption, and a love that would either transform a town or destroy them both. Follow me to the end and comment your city below so I can see how far this tale of the American frontier has traveled. The morning sun cast long shadows across Cedar Ridge's main street, but the heat was already oppressive, making the dust stick to everything it touched. Eleanor Thorne stood at the edge of the crowd, her black mourning dress absorbing the brutal September heat. 3 months since Thomas died, and she still wore widow's weeds like armor against the world's prying eyes. "Step right up, folks," Sheriff McKay's voice boomed across the square. "Got ourselves genuine livestock for sale today." The crowd laughed. Harsh, ugly laughter that made Eleanor's stomach turn. She pushed forward through the mass of bodies, the stench of sweat and tobacco overwhelming in the morning heat. At the center of the square, beside the weathered wooden platform that served as Cedar Ridge's auction block, stood a man in chains. Not livestock. A man. His name was Nathan Blackhawk, though few in the crowd would call him that. To them, he was just another savage, another problem to be dealt with. Nathan stood with his back straight despite the heavy shackles that had rubbed his wrists raw. His dark hair fell past his shoulders, matted with dried blood from where someone had struck him. His shirt was torn, revealing sun-darkened skin marked with fresh bruises. But his eyes, those dark eyes, held a dignity that no amount of iron could diminish. "Found him stealing horses from the Cole Ranch," McKay announced, though his voice carried less certainty than his words suggested. "Judge Martinez says he's to be sold to cover the damages. $50 to start." Eleanor knew Nathan hadn't stolen those horses. Everyone with sense knew it. But Harrison Cole owned half the valley, and when Harrison Cole said a man was guilty, that man was guilty. The truth was as irrelevant as morning frost in July. $60, called out Rex Hutchins, Cole's foreman, a brutal man who'd use Nathan hard and bury him within a year. 72, this from Pete Morrison, who ran the mine. He'd worked Nathan until his lungs filled with rock dust. Eleanor's hands trembled as she reached into her purse, everything she had left after paying for Thomas's funeral and medicine. $93 and change. Their entire savings meant to keep the ranch running through winter. "Don't hurt him," the words erupted from her before she could stop them. The crowd turned as one faces shifting from bloodlust to shock. "I'll buy him." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the morning birds seemed to stop their singing. Eleanor pushed through the crowd until she stood before the platform, her chin raised despite the trembling in her chest. "I said, I'll buy him. $90. Sheriff McKay's mustache twitched. "Mrs. Thorne, with all due respect, you don't know what you're doing. This man is dangerous." "This man is a human being," Eleanor interrupted. "And I'm making a legal bid, $90. Harrison Cole himself emerged from the shade of the general store, his expensive suit immaculate despite the heat. He was a big man gone to fat, but still powerful, with cold gray eyes that had never shown mercy. "Eleanor," he said, using her given name with presumptuous familiarity, "you're overwrought. The loss of Thomas has clearly affected your judgment. Let the men handle this." "My judgment is perfectly sound, Mr. Cole." She emphasized the formal address. "Though I question yours selling a man like cattle." Gasps rippled through the crowd. No one spoke to Harrison Cole that way. No one. Cole's face darkened. "This savage attacked my property." "Did anyone see him do it?" Eleanor asked loudly. "Was there a witness, or just your word?" The crowd stirred uneasily. Everyone knew Cole's word was law in Cedar Ridge, but Eleanor had voiced what many thought but never dared say. "Mrs. Thorne." Reverend Blackstone stepped forward, his black coat making him look like a carrion bird. "This is most improper. A woman alone taking in a savage. Call him savage all you want," Eleanor said, her voice carrying across the square. "I see a man worth saving." She turned to Nathan, then meeting his eyes for the first time. Something passed between them. Not understanding, not yet, but recognition. Two people who had lost everything standing in a crowd that wanted them both gone. $93, Eleanor said, pulling out her entire purse. Everything I have. McKay looked to Cole, who nodded curtly. They'd make her regret this. But for now, the law was the law. Sold, McKay said reluctantly, to the widow Thorne. Eleanor approached Nathan slowly. Up close, she could see the bruises were worse than she'd thought. Someone had worked him over good before bringing him to auction. His left eye was swollen nearly shut, and dried blood crusted his split lip. "Can you ride?" she asked quietly. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. "The shackles stay on until you get the bill of sale," McKay said. "That's the law." Eleanor bit back her response. She'd already pushed hard enough for one morning. "Fine, I'll collect him in an hour." She turned to face the crowd one last time. "Anyone who has business with me or my ranch can keep it. Anyone who doesn't approve of my choices can keep their distance." As she walked toward the sheriff's office, she heard the whispers starting. Lost her mind with grief. That savage will murder her in her sleep. Someone should do something. But also quieter, brave woman. Cole had no proof. About time someone stood up to him. An hour later, Eleanor returned with the bill of sale. Nathan hadn't moved from where they'd left him, though the crowd had dispersed. Only a few onlookers remained watching from storefront windows and shadowed doorways. McKay unlocked the leg shackles but left Nathan's wrists bound. "The rest come off when you get to your property." And Mrs. Thorne, he leaned in close, tobacco breath hot on her face. "When this goes bad, and it will go bad, don't expect help from the law." Eleanor took the key and turned to Nathan. "Come with me." They walked through town side by side, Eleanor refusing to walk ahead like he was following her. Let them see her treating him as an equal. Let them gossip. At the livery stable, old Sam Turner shook his head when Eleanor asked for 2 horses. "Can't let you take horses with him, Mrs. Thorne. Too dangerous." "Then we'll walk," Eleanor said. "It's 5 miles to your ranch. Then we'd better start walking." But Turner's grandson, young William, barely 17, brought out 2 horses anyway. "Grandpa's inside," he said quietly. "What he don't see won't hurt him." Eleanor could have kissed the boy. "Thank you, William." "Ma'am." William hesitated. "My pa says Mr. Blackhawk helped him once. Found him when he got thrown from his horse out near Devil's Canyon. Stayed with him until help came. Pa would have died otherwise." This was news to Eleanor. "When was this?" 2 years back, before people decided he was trouble." William glanced at Nathan. "Good luck, sir." Nathan inclined his head slightly, the first real response he'd shown to anyone besides Eleanor. They mounted up and rode out of town, the sun climbing higher, the heat growing oppressive. Eleanor could feel eyes watching from windows, judging, condemning. She kept her back straight, her gaze forward. Once they cleared the town limits, she stopped and dismounted. "Give me your hands." Nathan hesitated, then held out his shackled wrists. The key turned with a rusty protest, and the iron fell away. He rubbed his raw wrists, the first purely human gesture she'd seen from him. "Thank you," he said, his voice deep and rough from disuse. "Don't thank me yet," Eleanor replied. "We both know this is just the beginning of our troubles." They rode in silence for a while, the landscape shifting from the cramped buildings of town to the open range. Sage and juniper scented the air, and overhead a hawk circled lazily. "Why?" Nathan finally asked. Eleanor considered her answer. "My husband died 3 months ago. Fever took him in just 3 days. I sat by his bed helpless, watching him fade. I couldn't save him." She paused. "When I saw you there in chains being sold like property, I thought, here's someone I can save. And if I'm guilty, if I did steal those horses." Eleanor looked at him directly. "Did you?" "No." "Then that's settled. You believe me just like that? Harrison Cole is a liar and a thief who uses the law like a weapon. Everyone knows it, but he's rich and powerful, so everyone pretends otherwise." Eleanor's voice turned bitter. "He's been trying to buy my ranch since Thomas died. When I wouldn't sell, he started making trouble, damming the creek upstream, having his men cut my fences. This using you, it's just his latest move." Nathan absorbed this information silently. Then, "You know he won't stop. My presence will make it worse." "Probably," Eleanor agreed. "But I'm tired of being pushed around. Tired of being told what a proper widow should do. Tired of Harrison Cole thinking he owns this whole valley and everyone in it." They created a rise, and Eleanor's ranch spread below them. Even in the harsh afternoon light, its deterioration was obvious. The main house listed to one side, its paint weathered away. Half the fence posts had given up their fight with gravity. The barn roof was more patch than original structure. "It wasn't always like this," Eleanor said defensively. "Thomas and we had plans. We were going to raise horses, build something lasting. Then he got sick, and I spent everything on doctors and medicine that didn't work. And since he died," she shrugged, "hard for a woman alone to keep a ranch running." Nathan surveyed the property with an expert eye. "Good land," he said finally. "Water access, sheltered from north winds. Just needs work. Work I can't do alone." "Now you're not alone." The simple statement carried more weight than its few words suggested. As they rode down to the ranch house, Eleanor noticed fresh horse tracks in the dust. 3 riders, maybe 4, had been here recently. Her hand went to the rifle in her saddle scabbard. Nathan had noticed too. "Trouble already?" "Probably. Cole doesn't waste time." They found the trouble on Eleanor's front porch. 3 men lounging like they owned the place. Rex Hutchins, Cole's foreman, and 2 hands Eleanor recognized but couldn't name. Hard men with cruel eyes. "Afternoon, Mrs. Thorne," Hutchins said, not bothering to stand. "Heard you made an interesting purchase in town." "Get off my property," Eleanor said flatly. "Now that's not very neighborly. Mr. Cole sent us to make sure you're safe. A woman alone with a dangerous savage." "I said get off my property." Eleanor dismounted, pulling her rifle free. "You're trespassing." Hutchins laughed. "You gonna shoot us, widow woman? You even know how to use that thing." Eleanor worked the lever chambering around with practiced ease. "Thomas taught me. Want to find out how well?" The laughter died. Hutchins stood slowly, his hand drifting toward his pistol. Nathan dismounted, moving to stand beside Eleanor. He was unarmed, but his presence changed the dynamic. The 2 hands shifted nervously. "Mr. Cole wants you to reconsider," Hutchins said. "He's willing to buy your ranch for a fair price, more than fair considering its condition. Take the money, go back east where you belong, and leave the savage to us. We'll deal with him proper." "The only thing I'm reconsidering," Eleanor said, the rifle steady in her hands, "is whether to shoot you for trespassing or just have the sheriff arrest you." "Sheriff won't help you. Not anymore." "Then I'll handle my own problems, starting with you. Get off my land." Hutchins stared at her for a long moment, calculating. Then he smiled cold and mean. "This isn't over. You've made a serious mistake taking Cole's enemy into your home. When that savage shows his true nature, and no one's going to help you. I don't need help from people like you." The 3 men mounted up, but Hutchins had one more threat. "Accidents happen on isolated ranches, fires start, cattle disappear. Women alone face all kinds of dangers." "Is that a threat?" "Just a friendly warning. Last chance, Mrs. Thorne. Cole's offer won't stand forever. Tell Harrison Cole he can take his offer and choke on it." After they rode off, Eleanor's hands started shaking. She set the rifle down carefully and sank onto the porch steps. Nathan sat beside her, close enough for comfort, but not touching. "They'll be back," he said. "I know. With more men. I know. Why are you doing this, really?" Eleanor was quiet for a long moment, watching the sun sink toward the mountains. "My whole life, I've done what was expected. Been the proper daughter, the proper wife, the proper widow. Followed all the rules. And where did it get me? Alone on a failing ranch with vultures circling." She turned to look at him. "When I saw you in that square, I saw someone else who'd been pushed around, judged, condemned by people who didn't even know you. And I thought no more. No more following their rules. No more letting them tell me what's proper." Nathan nodded slowly. "You're using me to rebel." "No," Eleanor said firmly. "I'm refusing to let them use you. There's a difference." That night, Eleanor set up a bed for Nathan in the barn. It wasn't much fresh hay, clean blankets, a lantern, but it was better than a jail cell or whatever fate Cole had planned. "Tomorrow we'll start on the fence," she said, "if you're willing." "I'm willing." As she turned to go, Nathan spoke again. "Mrs. Thorne. Eleanor, please." Eleanor. He seemed to taste the name. "My mother's name was Singing Dove. My father was James Blackhawk. He was a teacher before he met her. Taught me to read, write, speak English. The mission school just refined what he started." It was the most he'd said at once, and Eleanor understood it was a gift, a sharing of trust. "What happened to them?" "Soldiers. 5 years ago. Our band was relocated by force. My parents resisted." He paused. "They didn't survive the resistance." "I'm sorry." "So am I." Eleanor left him then, but she stood at her bedroom window for a long time watching the soft glow of his lantern in the barn. She'd crossed a line today that couldn't be uncrossed. The whole town would be talking. Her reputation, what was left of it, was in ruins. But for the first time in 3 months, she didn't feel like she was drowning. Around midnight, she heard horses approaching, multiple riders moving fast. Eleanor grabbed Thomas's shotgun and crept to the window. 6 men, torches blazing, heading for the barn. She was out the door before she could think, shotgun raised. "Stop right there." The riders pulled up short. In the torchlight, she recognized several faces. Pete Morrison from the mine, the Garrett brothers, and leading them, Reverend Blackstone. "Mrs. Thorne?" the Reverend said, his voice carrying that particular tone of righteous authority that made Eleanor's teeth ache. "We've come to remove the savage before he can harm you." "The only harm being done here is by you," Eleanor said. "You're trespassing, armed trespassing in the middle of the night. That's a crime, Reverend. We're trying to protect you." "From what, a man sleeping in my barn?" "He's not a man," one of the Garrett brothers spat. "He's a savage. An animal." Nathan emerged from the barn, then moving silently despite the darkness. He stood just behind Eleanor's left shoulder, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Looks like a man to me," Eleanor said. "Standing upright, wearing clothes, not attacking anyone. Which is more than I can say for you lot riding around at night with torches like some kind of lynch mob." "You've lost your mind," Blackstone declared. "Grief has driven you to madness, taking this creature into your home. Home, my choice, my business. It's everyone's business when you bring danger into our community. The only danger I see is from men who think they have the right to control what a woman does on her own property." Pete Morrison spoke up. "Cole's right about you. You need a man to make decisions for you. Thomas kept you in line, but now—" The shotgun blast split the night. Eleanor had fired into the air, but the message was clear. The horses danced nervously, and one of the torches fell. Nathan stamped it out quickly before it could catch the dry grass. "The next one won't be a warning," Eleanor said, her voice deadly calm. "Get off my land. Now." "You're making a mistake," Blackstone said. "When this ends badly, and it will, you'll have no one to blame but yourself." "I'll take my chances." They rode off, but not before Pete Morrison shouted back, "Cole's going to hear about this. You've chosen your side, widow woman. Don't expect mercy when the bill comes due." After they were gone, Eleanor's legs gave out. She sat hard on the porch steps, the shotgun clattering beside her. Nathan sat next to her, still silent, still steady. "Thank you," he said finally. "For what?" "For seeing me as a man, for standing between me and them." "We stand together," Eleanor said. "That was the deal." "No," Nathan corrected gently. "The deal was, I work, you provide shelter. This," he gestured to where the riders had been. "This is something else." Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Then, "My husband was a good man, kind, gentle, full of dreams, but he never would have stood up to Cole, never would have defied the town." She looked at Nathan. "Maybe that makes me a bad wife, but I'm tired of gentle, tired of keeping peace. They want to fight. They'll get one. They'll destroy you. They'll try." Nathan studied her in the moonlight. "You're not what I expected when you bought me." "What did you expect? Pity, charity, a good Christian woman trying to save a savage soul?" His lips quirked in what might have been a smile. "Not a warrior. I'm no warrior." You just faced down 6 armed men with nothing but a shotgun and courage. My people would call that a warrior." They sat in comfortable silence as the night deepened around them. Finally, Eleanor stood. "We should sleep. Tomorrow will bring new troubles. It always does." As Eleanor prepared for bed, she thought about Thomas, wondered what he would think of what she'd done. He'd been a dreamer full of plans and hope, but he'd also been practical, careful. He never would have bought a man at auction, never would have defied Cole so openly. But Thomas was dead, and Eleanor was alive, and she was so tired of being careful. Through her window, she could see Nathan had moved his bedroll outside the barn where he could watch the road, protecting her even though she'd been the one with the gun. Tomorrow, Cole would retaliate. The town would gossip. The few friends she had left would probably abandon her. But tonight she wasn't alone. Tonight someone stood watch. Tonight she'd found something she hadn't felt since Thomas died purpose. The next morning came too soon, bringing with it the weight of what Eleanor had done. She made coffee strong and black and carried a cup out to Nathan. He was already working splitting wood behind the barn with smooth, efficient strokes. "You don't have to," she began. "I pay my debts," he said simply. "This isn't a debt." He paused, straightening to look at her. In the morning light, she could see the bruises were starting to fade from purple to green. "Then what is it?" Eleanor didn't have an answer for that. Not yet. They worked through the morning Nathan on the fence while Eleanor tended the vegetable garden that had gone wild with neglect. The familiar rhythm of work helped calm her nerves, though she kept glancing toward the road, expecting trouble. It came just after noon. Harrison Cole himself riding up with an escort of 6 men. Not the rabble from last night, but hard cases. Gunmen. The kind Cole employed when he wanted to make a statement. Eleanor met them at the gate, rifle in hand. Nathan materialized beside her carrying a hammer that could be a tool or a weapon depending on need. "Eleanor," Cole said, touching his hat brim with mock courtesy. "We need to talk." "Talk from there," Eleanor said. "You're not welcome on my property." Cole's face darkened. "You've lost your mind, woman, taking in this savage, threatening good Christian folk." "Good Christian folk don't ride with torches in the night. They do when there's a threat to the community." Cole leaned forward in his saddle. "I'm going to make this simple. I'll give you $500 for your ranch. That's twice what it's worth in its current state. Take it, leave town, and I'll handle the savage problem." "Nathan is not a problem." "Nathan," Cole laughed. "You're on a first-name basis with the animal now." "I'm on a first-name basis with a man who's done nothing wrong except exist in a place where men like you think they own everything and everyone. He stole my horses. Prove it." The simple challenge hung in the air. Cole's jaw worked like he was chewing nails. "I don't need to prove anything. My word—" "Your word is worthless," Eleanor interrupted. "Everyone knows you've been trying to force me out since Thomas died. This is just your latest scheme." One of Cole's men, a scarred gunman Eleanor didn't recognize, spoke up. "Boss, just let us handle this. Won't take but a minute." "Try it," Eleanor said, raising the rifle. "I'll put a bullet in you before you clear leather." The gunman laughed. "You think you're a fast enough widow woman?" Nathan stepped forward slightly. "She doesn't need to be fast, just accurate, and I'll handle whoever she misses." "With a hammer?" the gunman sneered. "Want to find out?" The tension stretched taut. Eleanor's finger rested on the trigger, her heart pounding but her hands steady. She'd never shot a man, but in that moment she knew she could. Would if they pushed. Cole raised a hand, reining in his man. "Stand down, Frank." He looked at Eleanor with cold calculation. "You've made your choice. When the consequences come, and they will come, remember, you brought them on yourself." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. You can't fight the whole town, Eleanor. You can't fight me. I own the bank that holds your mortgage. I own the general store where you buy supplies. I own the sheriff and the judge. You've got nothing but a falling down ranch and a savage who'll turn on you the moment it suits him." "I've got something you'll never have," Eleanor said. "Self-respect." Cole's face went purple. For a moment, Eleanor thought he might order his men to attack regardless. Then he wheeled his horse around. "You'll beg me to buy this place before I'm done," he called back, "and the price will be a lot less than $500. After they rode off, Eleanor lowered the rifle with trembling hands. Nathan took it from her, gently setting it aside. "He means it," Nathan said. "He'll destroy you to get what he wants." "I know. Why is this land so important to him?" Eleanor looked out at her property. The struggling garden, the broken fences, the failing buildings. "It's not the land, it's the water. We have senior water rights to Cedar Creek. Thomas's father filed the claim before Cole even came to the valley. As long as I hold this ranch, I control water access for 3 other properties, including Cole's main pasture." Understanding dawned in Nathan's eyes. He needs your water rights. He wants to expand his cattle operation. Can't do it without reliable water. He's been trying to buy me out since Thomas died, getting more aggressive each time I refuse. And now you've given him the excuse he needs to force you out. Eleanor met his gaze. No. Now I've got someone to help me fight back. That afternoon they worked side by side, repairing the chicken coop. Nathan worked with quiet efficiency, never wasting emotion. Eleanor found herself stealing glances at him, noting the careful way he handled the tools, the gentle manner with which he coaxed the scattered chickens back to their roost. "You know about ranching," she observed. "Worked for John Martinez south of here. 2 years." Eleanor knew the Martinez spread. "That's a good outfit. Why did you leave?" Nathan's jaw tightened. "His daughter, Maria, she was kind to me. Too kind. Her father saw us talking, laughing. Decided I was getting ideas above my station. Were you—" Nathan looked at her directly. "She was 17. I was teaching her to track deer. Nothing more. But Martinez didn't care about truth. Neither did her brothers. They hurt you." "Tried. I left before they could do permanent damage. And came here, where Cole decided I was stealing horses." Nathan's voice was bitter. "Same story, different town. Indian man existing near white property. Must be a thief." They worked in silence for a while. Then Eleanor said, "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For all of it. For what my people have done to yours. For the unfairness. For buying you like property even if I meant to free you." Nathan considered this. "You saved my life. Cole would have seen me hanged eventually, legal or not. Still doesn't make it right." "No," Nathan agreed. "But very little in this world is right. We do what we can with what we have." As the sun began to set, Eleanor prepared a simple supper, beans cornbread, the last of her preserved peaches. She set 2 places at her kitchen table. "Eat with me," she said when Nathan hesitated at the door. "Please." He entered slowly, as if expecting a trap. When he sat, he looked uncomfortable, uncertain. "When was the last time you ate at a table?" Eleanor asked gently. "Before the soldiers came," he admitted. 5 years. They ate quietly, but it was a comfortable quiet. As Eleanor cleared the dishes, Nathan spoke. "My father taught at the mission school. That's where he met my mother. She worked in the kitchen. They ran away together, lived with her people. I grew up between 2 worlds, never fully belonging to either. That must have been difficult. It was educational. I learned to see both sides, to understand both peoples. But understanding doesn't mean accepting. The things I've seen—" He stopped jaw working. Eleanor sat back down. "Tell me." So he did. Slowly, haltingly, he told her about the forced march when his band was relocated, about watching elders die on the trail, about children taken to schools where they were beaten for speaking their own language, about his parents' death not in some noble battle, but shot down like dogs for refusing to leave their home. Eleanor listened without interrupting, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. When he finished, she reached across the table and took his hand. His fingers were calloused strong, and after a moment's hesitation, they closed around hers. "I can't undo what was done," she said, "but I can refuse to be part of it going forward. Even if it costs you everything." "What's everything?" "This ranch? It's just land and buildings. My reputation already ruined. My life." She squeezed his hand. "At least I'd die standing for something instead of withering away as Harrison Cole's victim." Nathan turned her hand over, tracing the calluses on her palm with one finger. "Warrior's hands," he said softly. The touch sent unexpected heat through Eleanor's body. She pulled away, standing abruptly. "It's late. We should—" A window shattered. The rock landed on the kitchen floor, a piece of paper tied around it. Nathan scooped it up, unwrapping the message. His face darkened as he read. "What does it say?" Eleanor asked, though she could guess. Nathan handed it to her. The words were crudely written but clear. "Get rid of the savage or burn with him." Eleanor crumpled the paper. "Cowards! Can't even threaten me to my face." More rocks followed, breaking 2 more windows before the riders, whoever they were, galloped away whooping and laughing. Nathan helped Eleanor nail boards over the broken windows. "This is just the beginning," he said. "I know. They'll escalate. Next time might be fire, not rocks." "Then we'll be ready." Nathan looked at her in the lamplight. "You're not afraid." "I'm terrified," Eleanor admitted. "But I'm more afraid of giving in, of letting them win, of becoming the kind of person who stands by while injustice happens. That kind of person lives longer." "Maybe. But do they really live?" That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. Every sound made her jump. Was it riders returning? Was it Cole's men coming to make good on their threats? She finally gave up, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders and stepping onto the porch. Nathan was there sitting in the shadows with Thomas's rifle across his knees. "You should be sleeping," Eleanor said. "So should you." She sat beside him. The night was clear, stars scattered across the sky like spilled salt. "Do you know their names, the stars?" "My mother taught me the stories. That one," he pointed, "is the Wolf Road, what you call the Milky Way. And they're the 7 sisters running from the hunter." "Tell me more." So he did, his voice soft in the darkness, sharing the stories his mother had shared with him. Stories of creation and loss of love and sacrifice of a world before his people were pushed to the margins. "She would have liked you," Nathan said suddenly. "Your mother." "Yes, she appreciated strength, especially in women. Said they were the ones who really kept the world turning while men just made noise about it." Eleanor laughed softly. "She sounds wise." "She was." Nathan's voice caught slightly. "I miss her every day." Without thinking, Eleanor reached over and took his hand again. This time neither pulled away. They sat like that, hands linked, watching the stars wheel overhead, while the ranch settled into sleep around them. "Whatever comes," Eleanor said quietly, "we face it together." "Together?" Nathan agreed. The morning after the broken windows, Eleanor woke to find Nathan already at work boarding up the damaged frames properly. She brought him coffee, noting how he'd salvaged what glass he could, carefully removing the shards and storing them. "Might be able to cut new panes from these pieces," he explained. "Make do with smaller windows." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." His tone brooked no argument. "This damage is because of me." "This damage is because of small-minded cowards," Eleanor corrected. "Don't take on their guilt." They worked through the morning, repairing what they could. Around noon, a wagon approached, not racing with violent intent, but moving slowly, deliberately. Eleanor recognized the drivers, Lars and Ingrid Olsen, the elderly Norwegian couple who owned the neighboring farm to the north. "Mrs. Thorne," Lars called out in his thick accent. "We bring supplies." Eleanor walked to meet them, Nathan hanging back warily. The Olsens were good people, but trust came hard these days. "Lars, Ingrid, you didn't have to—" "Yes, we did," Ingrid interrupted, climbing down from the wagon with surprising agility. "We hear what happened last night. The broken windows. Is shameful." She looked past Eleanor to where Nathan stood. "You are the one they call Blackhawk." Nathan nodded cautiously. "Good. Strong name. Strong man to stand against such hatred." She turned back to Eleanor. "We bring glass. Lars had extra from when we fixed our greenhouse. Also bring food, bread, preserves, smoked meat." "I can't pay you," Eleanor said, her cheeks burning with shame. "Did we ask for payment?" Ingrid's tone was sharp. "When we came to this valley 15 years ago, people called us squareheads, said we talked funny, didn't belong. But some helped us. Now we help you." Lars was already unloading the wagon. "Also bring this," he said, pulling out a shotgun. "Extra one we have. You might need." Eleanor's eyes burned with tears. "Thank you." "Is nothing," Ingrid said briskly. "Is what neighbors do. Real neighbors, not those." She spit to the side. Those men with torches are not neighbors, are cowards. As they unloaded the supplies, Ingrid studied Nathan openly. You work hard, yes, help, Mrs. Thorne. Yes, ma'am. Good. She needs help. Too proud to ask, but needs. Ingrid fixed Eleanor with a stern look. Like someone else we know. Yes, Lars? Remember when you tried to clear the north field alone? Ingrid, Lars said gently. What is true? Nearly killed himself with stubbornness. She looked at Nathan again. Men, all the same, think they must do everything alone. Women know better. We know to accept help. After the Olsons left, promising to check in again soon, Eleanor and Nathan stood looking at the supplies they'd brought. It was more than Eleanor had seen in months, enough to last weeks if they were careful. Good people, Nathan said. Yes, I'd forgotten there were any left. There always are. Just sometimes hard to find. They spent the afternoon replacing the broken windows. Nathan worked with meticulous care, cutting the glass, precisely setting each pane with steady hands. Eleanor watched him work, noting the economy of his movements, the quiet competence. You've done this before. Many things I've done before. When you're Indian, you take whatever work you can find. Learn whatever skills keep you fed. What else can you do? Nathan considered. Track hunt, break horses, basic carpentry. Some blacksmith work. Can read, write, do figures. Know medicinal plants, how to set bones, birth foals. You're educated. My father insisted, said knowledge was the only thing they couldn't take away. His jaw tightened. He was wrong about that, too. That evening, as Eleanor prepared supper, she heard horses approaching fast. Her hand went immediately to the shotgun, but Nathan, peering out the window, held up a hand. Just one rider, young. It was William Turner from the livery stable, riding hard. He pulled up in a cloud of dust, his face flushed with urgency. Mrs. Thorne, Mr. Blackhawk, you need to know Cole's called a town meeting, tonight, about you. Eleanor's stomach clenched. About what specifically? About declaring Mr. Blackhawk a public danger, getting Sheriff McKay to run him out of town or worse. Cole's got Reverend Blackstone all fired up saying you're living in sin, that you're a danger to the moral fabric of the community. We're not, Eleanor began, heat rising in her cheeks. Don't matter what's true, William interrupted. Only matters what people believe. And Cole's good at making people believe what he wants. You should come. Defend yourselves. They won't listen, Nathan said quietly. Maybe not to you, William said, then flushed. Sorry, didn't mean... You meant exactly what you said, Nathan replied without anger. And you're right. They won't listen to an Indian, but they might listen to her. Eleanor looked between the two men. When... Sundown, at the church. After William rode off, Eleanor paced the kitchen. I should go. No, Nathan said firmly. It's a trap. Cole wants you there, wants to humiliate you publicly. Maybe. But if I don't go, they make decisions without my voice. Your voice won't matter. Their minds are made up. Eleanor stopped pacing, facing him. Then I'll make them unmake them. How? I don't know, but hiding here, letting them paint us however they want, that's not the answer either. Nathan was quiet for a moment. Then, we go together. Nathan, no, it's too dangerous for you. We stand together, he said, echoing her words from days before. You said that, meant it. Eleanor met his eyes. Yes. Then we go together. They rode into town as the sun touched the horizon, painting the sky blood red. The church was already packed, wagons and horses crowding the street outside. Eleanor could hear raised voices from within Cole's voice, loud and persuasive. Cannot allow this moral decay to continue. A white woman living with a savage? Eleanor pushed through the church doors, Nathan behind her. The crowd turned as one gasps and mutters rippling through the packed pews. Cole stood at the pulpit like he owned it, Reverend Blackstone beside him. Ah, Cole said, his voice dripping satisfaction. The woman in question arrives and brings her pet savage with her. His name is Nathan Blackhawk, Eleanor said clearly, walking down the center aisle. And he has more right to be here than you do, Mr. Cole. His people were here first. More gasps. Several men stood, hands moving to weapons, but Sheriff McKay raised a hand. "Nobody draws iron in the Lord's house." Eleanor reached the front of the church. "You called this meeting about me, then I should be allowed to speak." "Women don't speak in church," Blackstone said pompously. "Then move this meeting outside," Eleanor shot back, "because I'm speaking either way." The tension in the room was suffocating. Eleanor could feel Nathan behind her, a solid presence at her back. She turned to face the crowd, recognizing faces, some hostile, some uncertain, a precious few sympathetic. "You all know me," she began. "I've lived in this valley for 4 years. My husband and I came here with dreams of building something good. When he died, you offered condolences. Some of you even offered help, though I was too proud to take it." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Now you want to condemn me for helping someone else, for seeing a man falsely accused and refusing to let him be sold into slavery, or worse." "He's a thief," someone shouted. "Prove it," Eleanor challenged. "Show me one witness who saw Nathan Blackhawk steal anything." Silence. "That's what I thought. Harrison Cole makes an accusation, and you all accept it as gospel. Why? Because he's rich. Because he owns half the valley. Because he's white and Christian," Blackstone thundered, "not some heathen savage." Nathan stepped forward then, and the crowd tensed. When he spoke, his voice was calm, measured. "I am Christian. My father taught at a mission school. I was baptized when I was 7 years old. I can quote scripture better than most here." "Lies," Blackstone sputtered. Nathan's voice remained steady. "Matthew 7:1. Judge not that ye be not judged." Luke 6:31. "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." James 2:9. "But if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin." The crowd stirred uneasily. This wasn't what they'd expected. Eleanor seized the moment. "You want to talk about moral decay? Let's talk about men who ride at night with torches, who throw rocks through windows, who threaten a widow living alone." "You're not living alone," Cole snarled. "You're living with him. He sleeps in the barn. He works for room and board. Many of you have hired hands with the same arrangement." "It's not the same," Mrs. Patterson spoke up from the crowd. "He's different." "Yes," Eleanor agreed. "He's different. He's educated, skilled, hardworking, and honorable. He's also been beaten, chained, and sold like livestock. Which of us showed Christian charity? Those who wanted him hanged without proof, or the one who gave him honest work?" Old Samuel Turner stood up in the back. "The boy stole horses. Everyone knows Indians are thieves. Everyone knows," Eleanor's voice rose, "everyone knows the earth is flat too, or did until someone proved otherwise. Everyone knows women are too delicate for hard work, but I've been running a ranch alone for 3 months. Everyone knows a lot of things that aren't true." "You're twisting things," Cole said. This is about you wanting my water rights," Eleanor interrupted, "and using any excuse to force me out." The crowd murmured. This was news to many of them. Cole's face darkened. How dare I speak the truth? You've made offer after offer on my ranch. When I refuse, suddenly there's a horse thief who just happens to give you excuse to pressure me." "That's a serious accusation," Sheriff McKay said slowly. "No more serious than accusing an innocent man of theft," Eleanor replied. The church doors opened then, and Maria Martinez entered, followed by her father John. The crowd parted for them. The Martinez family was well respected, their ranch one of the oldest in the valley. "I have something to say," Maria announced. "Maria, no," her father said quietly. But Maria walked to the front of the church, her head high. "Nathan Blackhawk worked for us. He was a good hand, honest, reliable. He left because—" She looked at her father defiantly. "Because my father was afraid I was becoming too friendly with him. But Nathan never acted improperly. Never." John Martinez's face was stone. "Maria, this isn't the place." "Where is the place, Papa? Where do we say that we've been wrong, that we judge people by their skin instead of their character?" "The girl's been corrupted," someone muttered. Maria whirled on them. "Corrupted by what?" "By recognizing humanity in someone different." "Then, yes, I'm corrupted, and proud of it." Eleanor felt a surge of hope. If Maria Martinez could stand up, maybe others— Enough, Cole roared. This isn't about the Mexican girl's feelings. This is about maintaining order, about protecting our community from savage influences. The only savage influence I see, a new voice said from the back, is yours, Cole. Everyone turned. Dr. Benjamin Hayes stood in the doorway, the town's only doctor, a man who'd remained neutral in most disputes. Ben, Cole said warningly. Dr. Hayes walked forward. I've kept quiet too long, but I can't anymore. He looked at the crowd. 6 months ago, my son James was thrown from his horse out near Devil's Canyon. Broke his leg, hit his head. Would have died if Nathan Blackhawk hadn't found him, set his leg, and stayed with him until I arrived. Shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd. You never said, Cole began. You never asked, and I was coward enough to keep quiet when you accused him of theft. Hayes looked at Nathan. I'm sorry. I should have spoken up sooner. The tide was turning. Eleanor could feel it, but Cole wasn't finished. Fine, he said. Maybe the savage didn't steal horses. But that doesn't change the impropriety of the situation. A white woman living with an Indian man. Living on the same property, Eleanor corrected, with him in the barn. For now, Cole said slyly. But for how long? How long before he's in your bed? The crude insinuation made Eleanor's face burn, but before she could respond, Nathan spoke. If I wanted to harm Mrs. Thorne, I've had plenty of opportunity. I could have robbed her, hurt her, done whatever you think savages do. Instead, I've repaired her fences, fixed her windows, protected her property. Judge me by my actions, not your fears. Pretty words, Blackstone said. But the devil can quote scripture for his purpose. So can hypocrites, Eleanor shot back. Tell me, Reverend, where in the Bible does it say to ride at night with torches? Where does Christ say to threaten widows? Blackstone's face went purple. You dare. I dare speak truth in a house that's supposed to be built on truth. Lars Olsen stood up. I have something to say. The crowd turned to the elderly Norwegian. 15 years ago, many of you wanted us gone, said we talked funny, didn't belong, but some gave us chance. Now we are part of community. He looked around. Mr. Blackhawk deserves same chance. It's not the same, Cole began. Is exactly same. Ingrid Olsen interrupted, standing beside her husband. Fear of different, but different not mean bad. More people began standing, voices rising, some in support, some in opposition. The meeting was descending into chaos. Sheriff McKay fired his pistol into the air. Enough, everyone settle down. In the silence that followed, he looked at Cole, then at Eleanor and Nathan. Seems to me there's no evidence of any crime here. Man's got a right to work where he chooses. Woman's got a right to hire who she chooses. Sheriff, Cole said dangerously, I uphold the law, Mr. Cole, not your personal wishes. McKay looked uncomfortable but resolute. Unless someone's got actual evidence of wrongdoing, this meeting's over. Cole's face was murderous. This isn't over. No, Eleanor agreed. It's not, but tonight it is. She turned and walked out, Nathan beside her. Behind them, the crowd erupted again, but they didn't look back. Outside, Maria Martinez caught up with them. Mrs. Thorne, I'm sorry for what my father did, for not speaking up sooner. You spoke up tonight, Eleanor said. That took courage. Maria looked at Nathan. I'm sorry for what happened. You were a good teacher. I missed our lessons. Nathan inclined his head. You were a good student. Use what you learned. Dr. Hayes approached next, his face troubled. I owe you both an apology, especially you, Mr. Blackhawk. You saved my son and I repaid you with silence. Your son's life was payment enough, Nathan said simply. As they prepared to leave, William Turner ran up. That was something you really stuck it to them. It's not a victory, Eleanor said quietly. Just a delay. Cole won't give up. Maybe not, William said. But you've got more friends than you knew. That's something. On the ride home, Eleanor and Nathan were quiet, each lost in thought. Finally, Nathan spoke. That was brave. What you did. That was necessary. Same thing sometimes. They were almost to the ranch when Nathan suddenly pulled up. Riders coming. Fast. Eleanor's hand went to the rifle, but Nathan shook his head. Just two. And they're slowing. The riders emerged from the darkness, Dr. Hayes and his son, James, a young man about 20. Mrs. Thorne, Mr. Blackhawk, Dr. Hayes said. We need to talk. Inside, if possible. What I have to say shouldn't be overheard. Once inside, with coffee poured, Dr. Hayes got to the point. Cole's planning something. I overheard him talking to his men. He's going to cut off your water supply. Dam the creek upstream on his property. Eleanor's blood ran cold. Without water, the ranch would die in weeks. That's illegal, she said. I have senior water rights. Legal matters less than power out here, Hayes said grimly. By the time you could get a judge to rule, your cattle would be dead, if you had cattle. Why are you telling us this? Nathan asked. James Hayes spoke up. Because you saved my life, and because what's happening is wrong. He looked at his father. We should have stood up sooner. Standing up now is what matters, Eleanor said. Dr. Hayes pulled out a piece of paper. I've drawn a map. Cole's planning to build the dam here where the creek narrows. It's on his land, but barely. The property line is disputed. Eleanor studied the map. If we could prove the exact boundary. The original survey is in the county records, Hayes said. In the courthouse in Cedar Ridge. But Cole has friends there. Then we'll have to get it another way, Eleanor said. After the Hayes men left, Eleanor and Nathan sat studying the map. This is escalation, Nathan said. He's moving from harassment to actual destruction. Then we escalate too. Nathan looked at her. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we need allies, real ones, the Olsons, the Hayes family, Maria Martinez, they're a start. But we need more. How? Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Then, your people. Are there others nearby Indians who might help? Nathan's face went carefully blank. Why would they help a white woman? Not a white woman. A friend of Nathan Blackhawk. Someone fighting the same enemy they fight. Nathan was silent for a long time. Finally, there's a band camped in the hills, about 15 miles north. Some are distant relations. But Eleanor, he paused. Asking them to get involved could bring the army down on them. Not asking them to fight, just to share information, maybe to help us document Cole's illegal activities. You're playing a dangerous game. I've been playing it since I bought you at that auction. Nathan studied her face. You've changed. The woman who bought me was acting on impulse compassion. Now you're thinking like a strategist. Is that bad? No, it's necessary, but strategy requires sacrifice. Are you prepared for that? Eleanor met his gaze steadily. I've already sacrificed my reputation, my standing in the community. What's left? Your life, my life. Then we'd better make them count for something. That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the meeting, about the faces in the crowd. Some had been swayed, she could see it. But Cole's power ran deep. Money had a way of making people forget their consciences. She heard movement outside and went to the window. Nathan was walking the perimeter of the property, checking for threats. Always vigilant, always protective. She grabbed a shawl and went outside. Can't sleep either. He turned to her. Something's coming. Can feel it. Cole? Maybe. Or maybe just the storm that's been building since I arrived. They stood together in the darkness, the night air cool against their skin. I'm sorry, Eleanor said suddenly, for dragging you into my fight with Cole. Not your fight alone anymore. Still, you could leave. Head west, start over where no one knows you. Nathan was quiet for a moment. My mother used to say that running from a fight you didn't start is no shame. But running from a fight for what's right, that's the death of the spirit. Your mother was wise. Yes. He paused. So are you. The compliment, simple as it was, made Eleanor's chest warm. Nathan, I know, he said quietly. Wrong time. Wrong place. Wrong everything. Is it wrong to find light in darkness, to find connection in isolation? Nathan turned to face her fully. In the moonlight, his features were softened, the harsh lines of hardship temporarily erased. My people believe that souls recognize each other across lifetimes, that some connections transcend the boundaries men create. What do you believe? I believe he said slowly, that you saw me when everyone else saw only savage, that you stood between me and harm when you had every reason to step aside. That makes you, he paused, searching for words, makes me what? Sacred. The word hung between them, weighted with meaning that went beyond language. Eleanor stepped closer. You're not sacred to me, Nathan. You're real, human. That's better than sacred, even if being near me destroys everything. Everything was already destroyed. You're helping me rebuild. Nathan reached out his fingers, barely brushing her cheek. This is dangerous. Everything worth doing is. A sound in the distance made them both freeze. Horses, many of them. Get inside, Nathan ordered. Get the guns. Eleanor ran for the house while Nathan moved toward the barn, staying in the shadows. She grabbed the shotgun and Thomas's rifle, checking both were loaded. The riders came into view, 10 men, maybe 12. At their head rode Cole himself, and beside him a man Eleanor didn't recognize. A professional gun by the look of him. They stopped just outside the property line. Mrs. Thorne, Cole called out. We need to talk. Eleanor stepped onto the porch, shotgun visible. Talk from there. I'm making you one last offer, $500 for the ranch. Take it tonight, and you can leave peacefully. Your pet Indian can go with you. Not interested. You will be. Cole nodded to his men, several dismounted, pulling tools from their saddles, shovels, picks. You see, I've discovered that the creek crosses my property about a mile upstream. Funny thing about water, it flows where you tell it to. You can't. I can. It's my land. I can do what I want with water on my land. I have senior rights. Prove it in court. Until then, I'm protecting my property from contamination. Can't have water that's been corrupted by savage presence flowing onto my land. Eleanor raised the shotgun. Get off my property. We're not on your property, Cole said smugly. We're on mine. The boundary line runs right. He gestured to where his men sat. Here. That's a lie. Prove it in court, Cole repeated. In the meantime, enjoy what water you have. It won't last long. He wheeled his horse around. Oh, and Mrs. Thorne, that savage of yours might want to be careful. Accidents happen. Indians attacking white men, forcing us to defend ourselves. Tragic, but understandable. After they rode off, Nathan emerged from the shadows. He's going to kill me and make it look justified. Over my dead body. That might be his plan, too. They stood together looking out at the darkness where Cole and his men had vanished. We need help, Eleanor said. More than we have. My people, will you contact them? Nathan hesitated. It could make things worse. Or it could save us all. Nathan nodded slowly. I'll go tomorrow. But Eleanor, if they agree to help you, have to understand you'll be crossing a line. No white woman allies with Indians against white men. Not in this world. Then maybe it's time for a new world. Nathan looked at her with something like wonder. You really mean that? I bought a man's freedom in front of the whole town. I stood up to Cole in church. I've already crossed every line that matters. Might as well cross the rest. That night they prepared for siege, filled every container with water, loaded all the weapons, barricaded the windows. As Eleanor finally lay down to rest, she thought about Thomas. Gentle Thomas, who would have been horrified by all of this. He'd wanted a quiet life, a peaceful existence. Instead, she'd turned their dream into a battlefield. But maybe that's what it had always been. Maybe the peace had been an illusion built on the suffering of people like Nathan. Maybe the only way to real peace was through this war. Outside, Nathan kept watch. She could hear him occasionally moving around the property, checking defenses. Her protector. Her friend. Her... What? The word that came to mind scared her more than Cole's threats. Her love. No. It was too soon, too complicated, too impossible. But the heart didn't care about timing or complications or impossibility. The heart wanted what it wanted. And her heart wanted Nathan Blackhawk. The dawn came gray and cold, unusual for September. Nathan had been gone since before first light, riding toward the hills where his mother's people camped. Eleanor stood at the window, watching the empty road, trying not to think about all the things that could go wrong. The creek was already running lower, Cole's men had worked through the night. She could hear them in the distance, the ring of picks and shovels, the occasional shout. By her calculation, she had maybe 3 days of water if she was careful. The garden would die first, then the chickens would suffer. After that, a rider approached not Nathan, but William Turner again. The boy seemed to have appointed himself their messenger. "Mrs. Thorne," he called, dismounting quickly, "you need to know Cole's brought in more men, hired guns from Denver. They're saying—" He paused, uncomfortable. "What are they saying, William?" "They're saying Mr. Blackhawk murdered a family down south. That there's a bounty on him." Eleanor's stomach clenched. "That's a lie. I know that, you know that. But Cole's got a wanted poster. Looks official." "Let me see it." William pulled out a folded paper. The poster was convincing professional printing official-looking seals. It claimed Nathan Blackhawk was wanted for the murder of a rancher and his family in Texas, reward of $500. "It's fake," Eleanor said flatly. "How can you be sure?" "Because Nathan's never been to Texas. And look at the date it claims the murders happened 6 months ago. Nathan was working for the Martinez Ranch then. There are dozens of witnesses. Cole won't care about witnesses." "No," Eleanor agreed. "He won't." William shifted nervously. "There's more. Reverend Blackstone is calling for a prayer meeting tonight about the moral crisis facing the town. He's saying you've been corrupted, that Mr. Blackhawk has used Indian magic on you." Eleanor laughed bitterly. "Indian magic? The only magic Nathan's used is fixing my fences and treating me with respect." "Mrs. Thorne," William hesitated. "My grandfather wants to help, but he's scared. Cole holds the note on our stable. If we cross him openly—" "I understand," Eleanor said gently. "You've already done more than most by keeping me informed." After William left, Eleanor tried to work, but her hands shook as she fed the chickens. The water in their trough was already low. She gave them half what they needed, hoping Nathan would return with help before what? What exactly was she hoping for? That a band of Indians would magically solve her problems, that they'd even care about one white woman's fight with another white man. She was loading Thomas's rifle when she heard horses. Many horses. Her heart leapt. Nathan then sank as she recognized the riders. Sheriff McKay, accompanied by 6 men, including 2 of Cole's new hired guns. "Mrs. Thorne," McKay called. "I need to speak with Nathan Blackhawk. He's not here." "Where is he, Baz?" "Working, checking the fence line." McKay dismounted, his face grim. "I've received information that he's wanted for murder in Texas." Eleanor stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. "That information is false, and you know it. I have an official warrant." "You have a piece of paper Cole had printed. Nathan was here 6 months ago working for John Martinez. You can verify that easily." "That's not my job. My job is to arrest him." "Your job is to uphold real law, not Cole's version of it." One of the hired guns spoke up. "Lady, you're harboring a fugitive. That makes you an accomplice." Eleanor leveled her rifle at him. "I'm harboring an innocent man. That makes me righteous." "You won't shoot," the gunman said, but his hand drifted toward his pistol. "Try me." The tension stretched taut. Then McKay raised a hand. "Everyone calm down. Mrs. Thorne, I have to follow up on this warrant. When Blackhawk returns, tell him to come see me. We'll sort this out peaceful-like." "The way you sorted out the horse theft accusation by letting Cole railroad an innocent man—" McKay's face reddened. "I'm trying to keep the peace." "You're trying to keep Cole happy. There's a difference." "When he comes back," McKay said tightly, "send him to town. If he's innocent, he's got nothing to fear." After they left, Eleanor sank onto the porch steps. Everything was unraveling. Without water, the ranch would die. With a murder charge, even a false one, Nathan would hang. Cole had them trapped. The sun was setting when Nathan returned, but he wasn't alone. 3 riders accompanied him, 2 men and a woman, all clearly Indian, though dressed in a mix of traditional and white clothing. Nathan dismounted quickly, seeing Eleanor's expression. "What happened?" She told him about the warrant, the hired guns, McKay's visit. Nathan's face grew darker with each word. "I should leave," he said. "If I'm gone, Cole has no excuse. If you leave, Cole wins, and you'll be hunted wherever you go." The woman rider dismounted. She was perhaps 40, with intelligent eyes and an air of authority. "You are Eleanor Thorne." "Yes." "I am Sarah Windriver, Nathan's cousin. He has told us of your situation." Eleanor looked at Nathan in surprise. He'd never mentioned having family nearby. "Distant cousin," Nathan clarified. "My mother's cousin's daughter." Sarah studied Eleanor with frank assessment. "You bought his freedom, stood against your own people for him." "Why, because it was right. Many things are right. Few people do them when it costs. The cost of doing nothing would have been higher." Sarah nodded slowly. "Nathan says you need help against the man Cole." "I need witnesses more than help. Cole's damming the creek claiming it's on his property. He's also created false murder charges against Nathan. If we could prove both are lies..." One of the men spoke up. "We know Cole. He's driven 3 families off their land in the past 2 years, always legal-like." "This time he's overreached," Eleanor said. "The creek isn't on his property, not where he's damming it, and the murder charges can be disproven. But I need witnesses who saw Nathan here 6 months ago." "Indian witnesses won't be believed," Sarah said bluntly. "Not in court, maybe, but in public opinion, if enough people know the truth." Sarah and the men conferred quietly in their own language. Finally, Sarah turned back. "We will watch, document what Cole does. But we cannot fight openly. It would bring the army. I'm not asking you to fight, just to witness. And..." Eleanor hesitated. "There might be another way." She explained about the property survey, the disputed boundary where Cole was building his dam. "If we could find the original markers, prove where the real boundary is..." The second man, older and weathered, spoke for the first time. "I know those markers, helped put them in 30 years ago, before Cole came." Eleanor's heart leapt. "You could show us." "Better, can show Judge if needed. Worked for the surveyor, have papers to prove it." "Would you testify?" The man looked at Sarah, who nodded. "For Nathan's cousin's sister, who stands for justice." "Yes." They made plans quickly. The men would document Cole's dam construction, particularly anything that crossed onto Eleanor's property. Sarah would ride to nearby towns, finding anyone who'd seen Nathan during the time of the supposed murders. Eleanor would try to rally support in town, though she had little hope there. As the Indians prepared to leave, Sarah pulled Eleanor aside. "You care for him." "Nathan." It wasn't a question, but Eleanor answered anyway. "Yes." "He cares for you, but this path leads to sorrow. Your worlds are too different." "Our worlds are changing." Sarah's smile was sad. "Not fast enough. Not in our lifetimes." After they left, Nathan and Eleanor stood alone in the gathering darkness. "You didn't tell me you had family nearby," Eleanor said. "Safer if you didn't know. Safer for them. And now safe doesn't matter. Only survival." They went inside and Eleanor served what supper she could manage with their dwindling supplies. As they ate, Nathan told her about his visit to the camp, the debate among his mother's people about whether to help. "Many said to let the whites fight among themselves, that your troubles aren't their concern." "They're right." "No." Sarah argued that injustice anywhere is everyone's concern, that if Cole destroys you for standing with an Indian, it sends a message to everyone: don't cross the racial line, don't show humanity to the other side. And they listened to her. She's respected. A medicine woman and a teacher, her word carries weight. After supper, they sat on the porch watching the stars emerge. The sound of Cole's dam construction carried on the night air, a steady, relentless rhythm of destruction. "We're going to lose, aren't we?" Eleanor said quietly. "Maybe. Probably." "Then why fight?" Nathan was silent for a moment. "My father used to say that some fights you engage not to win, but to show that fighting is possible, to inspire the next fighter and the next. I don't want to be inspiration. I want to win." "Then we need to change the game. Cole expects certain moves, legal challenges, maybe violence. What if we do something unexpected?" "Like what?" Nathan turned to her. "The town meeting showed that some people can be swayed. Dr. Hayes, Maria Martinez, the Olsons. What if we gave them something to rally around, such as a barn raising?" Eleanor stared at him. "What? Your barn needs repair. Invite everyone. Make it a community event. Show them we're not hiding, not running, that we're building something despite Cole's threats. They won't come. Some will, and those who do will see the truth that we're just two people trying to survive, not the threat Cole makes us out to be. It was audacious, possibly foolish. But what else did they have when Matt? 3 days. Enough time for word to spread, not enough for Cole to organize effective opposition. Eleanor nodded slowly. All right. But Nathan, if this fails, if no one comes, then we'll know where we stand. Alone, but honest about it. That night, Eleanor wrote invitations. Simple, direct, barn raising at the Thorne Ranch. Saturday. All welcome. Food and fellowship provided. She had no idea how she'd provide food with no money and little water, but she'd figure something out. She always had. Nathan rode out before dawn to deliver the invitations, slipping them under doors, leaving them at the general store, the livery stable, even the church. By the time he returned, Cole's response was already evident. A new poster had appeared around town. Warning! Any person assisting the Thorne Ranch will be considered hostile to the peace and prosperity of Cedar Ridge. He's threatening everyone, Eleanor said, reading the poster William Turner had brought. He's scared, Nathan corrected. This is desperation. Desperate men do dangerous things. So do desperate women. Eleanor looked at him. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we need leverage, something to make Cole back off. Like what? Nathan pulled out a piece of paper. Sarah's nephew found this in the county records. It was a deed transfer dated 5 years ago. Cole bought the Riverside property from Jim Watson, but Watson didn't own it. He'd already sold it to the Daniels family. Cole knew but had Watson forged documents. Eleanor's eyes widened. This is fraud, criminal fraud. If we can prove it. The Daniels family was run off 2 years ago, said to have moved to California, or were buried in an unmarked grave. Either way, Cole thought he was safe. How did Sarah's nephew find this? He works as a janitor in the courthouse. People don't notice Indians cleaning their floors. He's been documenting Cole's dealings for years. This could destroy Cole. Or he could destroy us for having it. It's dangerous information. Eleanor held the paper like it might explode. We need to get this to someone who can use it. A federal marshal, maybe, or a newspaper in Denver. First, we survived the next 3 days. The second day brought new challenges. The creek had slowed to a trickle. Eleanor gave the last of the water to the chickens and the vegetable garden, keeping only a small amount for drinking. Around noon, an unexpected visitor arrived, John Martinez Maria's father. Eleanor met him with rifle in hand, wary. Mrs. Thorne, he said, removing his hat. I've come to apologize. For what specifically? Running Nathan off your ranch? Or staying silent when he was falsely accused? Martinez's face was pained. Both. I was wrong. My daughter made me see that. Your daughter has more courage than most grown men. Yes. He dismounted slowly. I heard about the barn raising. We'll come. Bring food, water, whatever you need. Eleanor was stunned. Cole will retaliate. Let him try. I've been in this valley longer than him. I have my own allies. After Martinez left, others came. Not many, but some. The Olsons promising to bring their grown sons and their families. Dr. Hayes offering medical supplies. Even Mrs. Patterson, the banker's wife, arrived in her fancy carriage. I still don't approve, she said stiffly. But what Cole's doing is wrong. Using the law as a weapon, hiring thugs. It's not Christian. Neither is judging people by their skin color, Eleanor said quietly. Mrs. Patterson's face flushed. Perhaps not. I've been reconsidering. My husband says I'm going soft, but she looked at Nathan, who was working on the barn. He saved the Watson child. That means something. It means he's a good man. Yes, Mrs. Patterson said slowly. Perhaps it does. But for every supporter, there were 3 who condemned. Rocks were thrown at Nathan when he went to town. Someone poisoned one of Eleanor's chickens. A note was nailed to their gate. Leave or burn. The night before the barn raising, Eleanor couldn't sleep. She walked outside to find Nathan standing guard as always. You should rest, she said. Tomorrow will be difficult. Can't sleep either. They stood together looking at the stars. The sound of Cole's dam construction had stopped the work complete. Tomorrow the creek would run dry entirely. "Nathan," Eleanor said suddenly, "if something happens to me, nothing will happen. But if it does, promise me you'll run. Don't try to avenge me, don't fight them alone, just run." Nathan turned to her. "Would you run if something happened to me?" "No." "Then don't ask me to do what you wouldn't." Eleanor looked up at him. "This is madness. We're going to die for water rights and pride." "No," Nathan corrected. "We're going to live for freedom and dignity, or die trying. Either is better than surrendering." "I'm frightened." Nathan did something he'd never done before. He pulled her into his arms, holding her against his chest. Eleanor stiffened for a moment, then relaxed into his embrace. "So am I," he whispered into her hair. "But fear means we're still alive, still fighting." They stood like that for a long moment, drawing strength from each other. Then Eleanor pulled back slightly, looking up at him. "Nathan, The night exploded with gunfire. Nathan shoved Eleanor to the ground, covering her with his body, as bullets splintered the wood above them. They crawled to cover behind the water trough as more shots rang out. "How many?" Eleanor gasped. "6, maybe 8. Nathan had Thomas's rifle returning fire to keep the attackers at bay. "They're trying to flank us." Eleanor grabbed the shotgun. "The house! We need to get to the house!" They moved in tandem, Nathan covering while Eleanor ran, then Eleanor covering while Nathan moved. They made it to the porch as fire arrows began arcing through the air. "The barn!" Eleanor cried. 3 fire arrows had lodged in the barn's roof. Smoke was already rising. "Let it burn," Nathan said harshly. "They want to draw us out." But Eleanor was already running. Not to the barn, but to the bell Thomas had installed years ago. She rang it frantically, the sound carrying across the valley. "Help!" she shouted. "Fire! Help!" More gunfire erupted. Nathan dragged her back to cover as bullets whined past. "They'll hear," Eleanor gasped. "Someone will come." Not in time. The attackers were getting bolder, moving closer. In the flickering light of the burning barn, Eleanor could see them, Cole's hired guns' faces covered with bandanas. Nathan fired steadily, methodically, making every shot count, but they were outnumbered, outgunned. Then impossibly answering gunfire came from behind the attackers. Sarah Windriver and her men had arrived firing from cover, catching the attackers in crossfire. The tide turned quickly. Caught between 2 forces, the attackers retreated, fleeing into the darkness. But the damage was done. The barn was fully engulfed beyond saving. Eleanor stood watching her barn burn, tears streaming down her face. Nathan's hand found hers. "We'll rebuild," he said. "With what?" "We have no money, no water, no—" Mrs. Thorne. They turned to see riders approaching fast. Not attackers, neighbors. The Olsons, the Martinez family, Dr. Hayes, even Sheriff McKay. "We heard the bell," Lars Olson called, "and saw the fire." They formed a bucket brigade, but it was futile. The barn was gone. As dawn broke, only smoking ruins remained. Sheriff McKay surveyed the damage, his face grim. "Who did this?" "Cole's men," Eleanor said flatly. "Can you prove it?" "They wore masks, if that's what you're asking, but we all know who ordered this." McKay looked uncomfortable. "I can't arrest someone without proof." "But you can arrest Nathan on false charges." "That's different. There's a warrant, a fake warrant." "I don't determine that. The judge does." John Martinez stepped forward. "Nathan was working for me 6 months ago. I have employment records. So do 6 other ranchers. Your warrant is a lie, Sheriff, and you know it." McKay shifted. "I still have to bring him in." "No," Dr. Hayes said, stepping beside Martinez. "You don't. Not unless you want the whole town to know you're Cole's puppet." "Now see here." "No, you see," Mrs. Patterson interrupted, surprising everyone. "I've been silent too long. We all have. Cole's turned this town into his personal kingdom, and we've let him. But burning down a widow's barn, attacking people in the night, this isn't law. It's terrorism." The word hung heavy in the morning air. Eleanor seized the moment. She pulled out the document Nathan had shown her. Sheriff, I have evidence that Cole committed fraud, criminal fraud. The Riverside property he claims, he stole it. The proof is right here. McKay looked at the document, his face paling. Where did you get this? Does it matter? It's real, and there's more where this came from. Years of Cole's crimes documented. This is serious, McKay said slowly. So is attempted murder, Eleanor shot back. Which is what happened here last night. The crowd that had gathered murmured uneasily. Cole had overplayed his hand. Attacking the ranch at night, burning the barn, it was too much, too blatant. We're still having the barn raising, Eleanor announced loudly. Today as planned, everyone's welcome, and Sheriff, she looked McKay in the eye. You're especially welcome. You can make sure everything stays peaceful. McKay nodded slowly. I'll be here. As the crowd dispersed to prepare for the barn raising, Sarah Windriver approached Eleanor. You fought well, she said simply. We all did. Sarah looked at the burned barn. From ashes, new growth. Sometimes destruction clears the way for something better. Philosophy doesn't rebuild barns. No, but community does, and you've built that even if you don't see it yet. By noon, wagons were arriving. More than Eleanor had dared hope. The Olsons brought lumber they'd been saving. The Martinez family brought food and water barrels of it. Dr. Hayes brought his sons and their friends, strong young men ready to work. Even people who'd been hostile came. The Watson family whose child Nathan had saved. Some of Cole's own ranch hands defying their boss's orders. As the barn frame rose against the sky, Eleanor stood watching in amazement. This morning she'd had nothing but ashes. Now she had a community. Nathan worked alongside the other men, no longer separated, no longer other. When they raised the main beam, it took 12 men, and Nathan's strength was crucial. When it settled into place, a cheer went up. That's good work, Tom Watson told Nathan, offering his hand. Nathan shook it, and Eleanor saw something shift in the crowd. Acceptance. Not from everyone, but from enough. Then Cole arrived. He came with 20 men, all armed. The work stopped as everyone turned to face them. This gathering is illegal, Cole announced. I'm shutting it down. On what authority? Sheriff McKay asked, stepping forward. Cole's eyes narrowed. Sheriff, you work for me? I work for the law, McKay corrected, and there's no law against barn raising. There is against harboring fugitives. Nathan Blackhawk is no fugitive, John Martinez said loudly. I have proof he was working for me during the time of these supposed murders. So do others. Indian lovers, all of you, Cole snarled. American citizens, Dr. Hayes corrected. Exercising our right to free assembly. Cole's hand went to his gun. You're making a mistake. All of you. The only mistake, Eleanor said, stepping forward, was letting you terrorize this town for so long. She held up the fraud document. Harrison Cole, you're a thief and a liar. This proves it. And I'm sending copies to the federal marshal, the Denver newspapers, and the governor. Cole's face went purple. You bitch. Nathan stepped between them. Watch your tongue. Or what savage... The crowd tensed. This was the moment violence or peace destruction or building. It was Sarah Windriver who broke the tension. She began singing, a low, haunting melody in her native tongue. One by one, her companions joined in. Then, amazingly, Ingrid Olsen added her voice not in the same language but harmonizing in Norwegian. Then, Maria Martinez in Spanish. The song grew wordless now, just voices joining in harmony. The barn raisers added their voices, even those who couldn't carry a tune. Cole stood frozen, his violence made impotent by the simple act of communal singing. His men shifted uncomfortably, guns still drawn but uncertain. This isn't over, Cole said finally. Yes, Eleanor said quietly. It is. You're done, Cole. The whole valley knows what you are now. Cole wheeled his horse around and galloped away, his men following. But Eleanor noticed several of them looking back, and she thought she saw doubt in their faces. The barn raising continued into the evening. By sunset, the structure stood complete, not finished, but solid real. Better than what had burned. As people prepared to leave, many approached Eleanor and Nathan. We were wrong, Tom Watson said simply. Can you forgive us? There's nothing to forgive, Nathan replied. Fear makes people do things they regret. Moving past fear, that's what matters. One by one they came, apologizing, offering support, promising to stand with them if Cole retaliated. When everyone had gone except Sarah and her companions, Eleanor stood with Nathan looking at their new barn. "We did it," she said wonderingly. "You did it," Nathan corrected. "You brought them together." "We did it?" Eleanor insisted. "Together?" Sarah approached them. "The fight's not over. Cole will strike back." "I know," Eleanor said. "But today we won something, not just a barn. We won community." Sarah nodded. "Community is the strongest weapon against tyranny." She looked at Nathan. "You found your place, cousin." "Maybe," Nathan said, his arm sliding around Eleanor's waist. Sarah smiled. "Not maybe. Definitely." She looked at Eleanor. "Take care of him." "We take care of each other." As the Indians rode away, Eleanor and Nathan stood alone in the gathering darkness. "What now?" Nathan asked. "Now we prepare for whatever Cole does next, but tonight," Eleanor turned in his arms. "Tonight, we celebrate." "Celebrate what?" "Being alive, being together, building something from ashes." Nathan looked down at her. "Eleanor, this morning when the shooting started, I thought I might lose you before I could tell you. Tell me what? That you've given me back my life, my purpose, my heart." Eleanor reached up, touching his face. "You've given me the same, even if it costs everything. Especially then. The things worth having always cost everything." They kissed then there in front of their new barn, with the stars beginning to emerge overhead. It was a kiss that promised everything and guaranteed nothing except that whatever came, they would face it together. The morning after the barn raising, Eleanor woke to silence. No gunfire, no threats, just the normal sounds of dawn on the ranch. It felt wrong somehow, like the calm before a storm. Nathan was already up. She could smell coffee brewing. She dressed quickly and found him on the porch studying a letter that had been left at their gate during the night. "What is it?" He handed it to her wordlessly. The letterhead was Official Circuit Judge Harold Brennan. "A hearing," Eleanor read. "Tomorrow, to determine the validity of the water rights and to address the criminal charges against Nathan Blackhawk." "Cole's judge," Nathan said grimly. "Maybe, but Brennan's federal, not local. He might be honest." "Might isn't good enough when my life's at stake." Eleanor sat beside him. "We have evidence, witnesses, the truth." "Truth hasn't mattered much so far." "It mattered yesterday. All those people who came won't testify in court, not against Cole." Eleanor wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. Standing up at a barn raising was one thing. Testifying in court against the most powerful man in the valley was another. "Then we need something more," she said. "Something Cole can't refute." Nathan looked at her. "What are you thinking?" "Sarah's nephew, the one who found the fraud documents. Could he find more?" "Possibly. But Eleanor using an Indian to spy on white men's legal documents if he's caught. I know the risk, but what choice do we have?" Nathan stood abruptly. "I should leave. Disappear. Without me here, Cole has no leverage. Without you here, I have no reason to keep fighting." The words hung between them raw and honest. Nathan turned back to her. "Eleanor. No, don't tell me it's impossible. Don't tell me we're from different worlds. I know all that. But I also know that you've become—" She paused, searching for words. "Everything." Nathan pulled her to her feet into his arms. "You know what you're saying. I'm saying I love you, despite everything, because of everything." Nathan's hands framed her face. "In my culture, when a man loves a woman, he brings horses to her family, proves he can provide. I have no horses, no family to speak for me, nothing but trouble to offer. I don't want horses. I want you." They kissed deep and desperate, knowing time was against them. A cough interrupted them. They sprang apart to find Dr. Hayes standing at the gate, looking embarrassed. "Sorry to intrude, but I have news." They invited him in, and over coffee, Hayes explained. "Cole's been busy. He's brought in a lawyer from Denver, Augustus Blackwood, the Reverend's brother. He's known for winning impossible cases through intimidation and legal trickery." "Of course," Eleanor said bitterly. But, Hayes continued, I've been busy too. Sent a telegram to a friend in Denver, a newspaper man. He's very interested in the fraud documents you showed me. He's coming for the hearing. A newspaper man won't change the judge's mind, Nathan said. No, but public scrutiny might make him think twice about obvious corruption. Hayes paused. There's more. Maria Martinez has been gathering testimonies, written statements from everyone who employed Nathan in the past 2 years. She has 17 of them. Eleanor's eyes widened. 17 people willing to state he was here not in Texas. In writing, not everyone will testify in person, but the documents are notarized. It was more than Eleanor had dared hope. Why are people suddenly willing to help? Hayes looked uncomfortable. The barn burning changed things. Cole showed his true nature using violence attacking at night. People are remembering what law really means, what community should be. After Hayes left, Eleanor and Nathan worked frantically to prepare for the hearing. They organized documents, listed witnesses, tried to build an airtight case. That afternoon, Sarah Windriver arrived with her nephew, a young man named James, who worked at the courthouse. I found more, James said quietly, producing a leather folder. Much more. Inside were documents going back years, land transfers that didn't match official records, tax documents showing Cole had been cheating the county, and most damning correspondence between Cole and various officials explicitly discussing bribes. This is, Eleanor couldn't finish. Enough to destroy him, Sarah said, but also dangerous. If he knows you have these, he'll kill us both, Nathan finished. Yes. Eleanor looked at the documents spread on her table. We need to get copies to that newspaper man. Tonight. I'll go, Nathan said. No, you're the one with the target on your back. I'll go. Neither of you go, Sarah said. James will handle it. No one notices an Indian janitor. That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. Tomorrow would decide everything. She found Nathan on the porch, keeping watch as always. Can't sleep either, she asked. Thinking. About how a month ago I was in chains being sold like livestock. Now I'm preparing to stand in court like a free man. You are a free man. Am I? Or am I just between cages? Eleanor took his hand. We're all between cages, Nathan. The difference is whether we accept them or fight against them. And if we lose tomorrow, then we run, together, west where no one knows us. Nathan squeezed her hand. You'd give up your ranch. The ranch is just land. She stopped, then continued firmly. Your home. They sat in silence, hands linked, watching the stars. Then Nathan spoke. My mother used to tell me a story about a warrior who fell in love with a woman from an enemy tribe. Their love brought peace between the peoples. What happened to them? They died, killed by those who couldn't accept change. That's a terrible story. But their children lived, and their children's children. Change came just slowly. Eleanor turned to him. Is that what we are? A bridge between worlds? Maybe. Or maybe we're just two people who found each other against all odds. I prefer that version. As dawn approached, they prepared for court. Eleanor wore her best dress, the one she'd worn to Thomas's funeral. Nathan wore clothes Dr. Hayes had brought, a proper suit that made him look like a scholar rather than a ranch hand. You look distinguished, Eleanor said. I look like I'm playing dress-up. No, you look like what you are, an educated, dignified man who deserves respect. The ride to town was tense. They could feel eyes watching from windows, see curtains twitch as they passed. At the courthouse, a crowd had already gathered. Cole's men lined one side of the street, but on the other stood their supporters, the Olsons, the Martinez family, Dr. Hayes, even Mrs. Patterson. Inside the courtroom was packed. Judge Brennan, a thin man with sharp eyes, surveyed the crowd with apparent distaste. This hearing, he began, will address two matters. First, the dispute over water rights between Harrison Cole and Eleanor Thorne. Second, the criminal charges against Nathan Blackhawk. Augustus Blackwood rose. He was a mirror of his brother, same harsh features, same self-righteous bearing, but with a lawyer's cunning instead of a preacher's fervor. Your Honor, the matters are related. Mrs. Thorne has been unduly influenced by this alleged criminal, Eleanor's lawyer interrupted. She'd hired him with the last of her money, a young man named David Carson, fresh from law school but passionate about justice. Very well, alleged criminal, Blackwood sneered. But the influence is clear. No woman in her right mind would objection, Carson said. Counsel is speculating about my client's mental state without evidence. Sustained, Brennan said, though he looked annoyed. Mr. Blackwood, stick to facts. For the next hour, Blackwood presented Cole's case. The water rights were disputed, he claimed, showing maps that had clearly been altered. Nathan was a dangerous fugitive, he insisted, producing the fake wanted poster. Then it was Carson's turn. He presented the original survey maps authenticated by 3 different sources. He showed that Cole's dam was clearly on Eleanor's property. Then he addressed the murder charges. Your Honor, I have here 17 sworn affidavits stating that Nathan Blackhawk was in Cedar Ridge during the time of the alleged murders in Texas. He presented them one by one. Maria Martinez testified in person, defying her father's worried looks. Dr. Hayes testified. Even William Turner, shaking but determined, stated that Nathan had helped him with horses during the exact week of the supposed crimes. Blackwood tried to discredit each witness, but the sheer number was overwhelming. Then Carson played his trump card. Your Honor, I call James Everett to the stand. A man Eleanor didn't recognize walked forward. He was middle-aged, wearing a federal marshal's badge. Marshal Everett, Carson began. Did you investigate the murders Nathan Blackhawk is accused of? I did. What did you find? The murders never happened. The family supposedly killed is alive and well in Houston. The entire warrant is fabricated. The courtroom erupted. Cole shot to his feet, his face purple. That's impossible. Are you calling a federal marshal a liar, Mr. Cole? Judge Brennan asked coldly. Suddenly the judge's demeanor had changed. Eleanor realized with a start Brennan hadn't been Cole's man. He'd been giving Cole rope to hang himself. Furthermore, Marshal Everett continued, I've been investigating Mr. Cole for fraud, intimidation, and corruption. Mrs. Thorne's evidence has been very helpful. Cole's face went from purple to white. What evidence? Eleanor stood. The evidence that proves you stole the Riverside property, that you've been bribing officials for years, that you ordered the attack on my ranch. You can't prove... Actually, she can, a new voice said. The newspaper man from Denver walked forward. I've spent the night reviewing documents provided by Mrs. Thorne. Tomorrow's edition will carry the full story. How Harrison Cole built his empire on theft and intimidation. Cole lunged at Eleanor. You bitch! You've destroyed... Nathan moved faster than anyone could follow, intercepting Cole, taking him down hard. Cole's men reached for their guns, but Marshal Everett and his deputies already had them covered. Harrison Cole, Everett said formally, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. This isn't over, Cole screamed as they dragged him out. You'll pay for this. Both of you. Judge Brennan banged his gavel. The water rights clearly belong to Mrs. Thorne. The charges against Nathan Blackhawk are dismissed. This court is adjourned. The courtroom erupted again, but this time in celebration. People surrounded Eleanor and Nathan, offering congratulations, apologies, support. But Nathan pushed through the crowd, pulling Eleanor outside. We need to go. Now. Why we won. Cole has more men. Ones who weren't in court. They'll come for revenge. As if to prove his point, riders appeared at the end of the street. 6 men, armed, faces grim. There, one shouted. The Indian and his whore! Nathan shoved Eleanor behind a water trough as bullets flew. The crowd scattered screaming. But then answering fire came from unexpected sources, the Olsen boys armed and ready. John Martinez and his sons. Even Mrs. Patterson's husband, the banker, stepped out with a rifle. Enough, he shouted. Cole's finished. Anyone who continues this fight will answer to federal law. The riders hesitated. Then one by one they lowered their weapons and rode away. In the sudden silence, Eleanor stood slowly. The town that had wanted Nathan gone was now protecting them. Sheriff McKay approached, looking sheepish. Mrs. Thorne, Mr. Blackhawk, I owe you an apology. I let Cole influence me, forgot what my job really was. We all did, Dr. Hayes said. But that's over now. As the crowd dispersed, Sarah Windriver approached. "You did it," she said simply. "We all did it," Eleanor corrected. Sarah smiled. "The warrior and the woman from enemy tribes. Maybe your story ends better than the old one." That evening, back at the ranch, Eleanor and Nathan stood looking at their property. The creek was already flowing again. Cole's men had destroyed the dam as soon as he was arrested, trying to distance themselves from his crimes. "It's over," Eleanor said wonderingly. "The fight with Cole is over," Nathan corrected. "But Eleanor, the world hasn't changed. There will still be those who hate us for being together." "I know." "Can you live with that? The stares, the whispers, the closed doors?" Eleanor turned to him. "I can live with anything as long as you're beside me. Even if we can never legally marry, even if our children face hatred." "Our children." Eleanor's heart skipped. Nathan pulled her close. "I'm asking you to build a life with me, Eleanor. Not an easy life, but a real one." "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes to all of it." They kissed as the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. A week later, the ranch was bustling with activity. The fraud story had made Cole a pariah. His assets were seized, his empire crumbling. Some of his former employees came seeking work, and Eleanor hired them, choosing to show mercy where Cole had shown none. The newspaper story had also made Eleanor and Nathan famous or infamous, depending on perspective. Letters arrived daily, some supportive, some hateful. Eleanor burned the hateful ones and saved the supportive ones, especially those from other mixed couples, finding courage in their story. One morning, Reverend Blackstone arrived. Eleanor met him with suspicion, but his demeanor had changed. "I've come to apologize," he said stiffly, "and to resign. My brother's corruption, my own prejudice. I'm not fit to lead a congregation." "Running away doesn't fix anything," Nathan said quietly. Blackstone looked at him in surprise. "What would you have me do?" "Stay. Learn. Grow. Show others that change is possible." Blackstone was quiet for a long moment. Would you both come to church? I'd like to preach on true Christianity, on loving thy neighbor, regardless of differences." Eleanor and Nathan exchanged glances. "We'll consider it," Eleanor said. After he left, Nathan shook his head. "Never thought I'd see that. People can surprise you." "Yes," Nathan agreed, pulling her close. "They certainly can." That night, they held a celebration at the ranch. Not a barn raising, but a community gathering. Indians from Sarah's band came mingling with townspeople. The Olsons played Norwegian folk music. The Martinez family taught traditional dances. Even some of Cole's former men came tentative but welcomed. As Eleanor watched the unlikely gathering, she felt Thomas's presence somehow. Not disapproving, but accepting. He'd wanted to build something lasting here. Now she was just differently than either of them had imagined. "Eleanor," Nathan said, appearing at her elbow, "there's someone here to see you." She turned to find a well-dressed woman she didn't recognize. "Mrs. Thorne, I'm Catherine Daniels. You found the documents about our land." Eleanor's eyes widened. "The Riverside property. You're alive." "Barely. Cole's men burned us out, threatened to kill us if we returned. We've been hiding in California, but when we read the newspaper story—" "The land is yours," Eleanor said immediately. "We'll testify, help you reclaim it." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. "You don't know what this means. We lost everything." "Now you can rebuild." As Catherine walked away, Nathan smiled at Eleanor. "You just gave away valuable land. It was never mine to keep. This is why I love you. Just this and 1,000 other reasons." The party continued late into the night. At one point, Eleanor found herself standing with Sarah Windriver, watching Nathan teach some children, both Indian and white, how to track. "He's good with children," Sarah observed. "Yes." "You'll have strong babies." Eleanor blushed. "Sarah, what?" "It's natural. You're young, healthy, in love." She paused. "It won't be easy for them. Mixed blood children face challenges from both worlds."
They'll also bridge both worlds. Yes, Sarah agreed. Perhaps that's what the future needs. Bridges, not walls. As the gathering wound down, Maria Martinez approached Eleanor. I wanted to thank you, she said, for showing me courage, for proving that standing up for what's right matters. You showed courage yourself testifying. I'm leaving, Maria said suddenly, going to college in Denver. I want to be a lawyer. A lawyer? Eleanor was surprised. That's, unconventional. Maria smiled. I learned from you that unconventional can be powerful. After everyone left, Eleanor and Nathan stood alone under the stars. Regrets? Nathan asked. None. You? Only that I didn't find you sooner.
They went inside to the bedroom they now shared openly, no longer pretending Nathan slept in the barn. The town could gossip all it wanted. They'd earned their happiness. As they lay together, Eleanor traced the scars on Nathan's back. These are fading. Outside scars fade. Inside ones take longer. We have time. Do we? There will be other Coles, other challenges. And we'll face them together. Nathan rolled over, looking down at her. You really aren't afraid. I'm terrified, Eleanor admitted. But I'm more afraid of a life without you. That's not courage. That's love. Maybe they're the same thing. They made love slowly, tenderly, a claiming and a promise. Outside the ranch slept peacefully. The creek gurgled with fresh water. The new barn stood strong against the night sky. In the morning, there would be work, always work on a ranch. There would be challenges, prejudice those who couldn't accept their union. But there would also be allies, friends, a community slowly learning that love could cross any boundary. As Eleanor drifted towards sleep in Nathan's arms, she thought about Sarah's story. The warrior and the woman from enemy tribes. In the old story, they died. But this wasn't the old story. This was their story. And they would write their own ending. The next morning brought unexpected visitors. A delegation from the tribal council led by an elderly man Nathan greeted with deep respect. Uncle, he said in his language, which Eleanor was slowly learning. The old man studied Eleanor with shrewd eyes. So, this is the woman who bought you. This is the woman who freed me, Nathan corrected. Same thing, different words. He switched to English. Mrs. Thorne, I am Joseph Crowfeather. Nathan's mother was my sister. I'm honored to meet you. Joseph studied her. You know what you've chosen, the path you walk. I know it won't be easy. Not easy, child. It will be nearly impossible. Your people will call you race traitor. Mine will call him apple red, outside white inside. Uncle, Nathan protested. Truth is truth, Joseph said. But he continued looking at Eleanor. Sometimes impossible things are worth doing. He pulled out a bundle wrapped in deer hide. This was my sister's. She would want Nathan's woman to have it. Eleanor unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a beautifully beaded necklace, turquoise and silver. It's beautiful, she breathed. It's protection, Joseph said, and recognition. Wear it, and any of our people will know your family. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Joseph nodded, then turned to Nathan. The council has decided. What was taken from our family will be restored. Your mother's land, it's yours again. Nathan's face went still. The Valley Land. 20 acres with water rights. The government finally honored the old treaty. Joseph smiled grimly. Amazing what newspaper attention can do. Eleanor gasped. Nathan, that's wonderful. But Nathan looked troubled. I can't leave Eleanor's ranch. Who said anything about leaving? Joseph asked. 2 properties, both with water. You'll be rich in land. After the delegation left, Nathan and Eleanor rode to see his mother's land. It was beautiful, a valley protected by hills with a clear stream running through it. We could run cattle here, Eleanor said, or horses. Your land, my land, it's all ours now. Nathan dismounted, kneeling to touch the soil. My mother is buried here, my father, my sister. Eleanor knelt beside him. Then it's sacred. You understand that
I understand that land holds memory, that some places are more than property. Nathan pulled her close. How did I find you? You didn't. I found you. In chains about to be sold, and I knew what? That you were mine, that I was yours, that everything in my life had led to that moment.
They spent the day exploring the property, planning where to build, where to plant. As the sun set, they stood where Nathan's family was buried, and he sang a prayer song in his language. Eleanor didn't understand the words, but she understood the emotion. Grief and gratitude, loss and hope, all woven together. Your mother would have liked this, she said when he finished, her son free on her land with a woman who loves him. She would have liked you, Nathan said. She appreciated brave women. I'm not brave. You bought a man at auction, stood against your entire town, fought the most powerful man in the valley. That wasn't bravery. That was desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing. 3 months had passed since Cole's arrest. The ranch thrived under Eleanor and Nathan's combined efforts, and they'd begun building a small house on his mother's land, a place that would be truly theirs, built together from the ground up. Eleanor stood in the doorway of their new home, still smelling of fresh pine and sawdust, watching Nathan work with a young Mustang in the corral. He moved with the horse like water, all fluid grace and patient strength. Her hand went unconsciously to her belly, where new life grew a secret she'd been holding for a week, waiting for the right moment to tell him. Mrs. Thorne. The urgent call made her turn. William Turner was riding hard toward them, his face flushed with exertion and something else, fear. What's wrong? Eleanor asked as he dismounted. Cole's escaped. Marshal Everett just got word. He killed 2 guards and he's heading this way with some men outlaws he met in prison. Nathan had heard the commotion and jogged over. 2 days ago, the marshal's gathering a posse, but Cole could be here any time, Nathan finished grimly. Eleanor felt ice in her veins. She'd known this peace couldn't last, but she'd hoped for more time. How many men about? 5, maybe 6. All killers. William looked between them. The marshal says you should leave. Go to town where he can protect you. Nathan and Eleanor exchanged glances. No, they said in unison. We run now. We run forever. Eleanor added. This is our home. We defend it. William nodded as if he'd expected this answer. The Olsons are coming. The Martinez family, too. Dr. Hayes is gathering others. We won't let you face this alone. After William left to spread the word, Nathan and Eleanor prepared for siege. They had weapons now. The ranch's success had allowed them to arm themselves properly. Nathan loaded rifles while Eleanor prepared ammunition. You should go, Nathan said quietly. Take one of the horses, ride to your sister in Chicago. Eleanor turned on him. Don't you dare try to send me away. Eleanor, you don't understand what Cole will do if he catches you, what he'll do to punish me. I understand perfectly. She took his hands. And I'm not leaving. We stand together, remember. Nathan pulled her close. I can't lose you. Then we'd better make sure you don't. By evening, their allies had arrived. The Olson family, complete with adult sons and their wives. The Martinez clan armed and ready, Dr. Hayes with his sons. Even Reverend Blackstone came carrying a rifle that looked incongruous in his ministerial hands. Never thought I'd take up arms, he said, but some evils must be opposed with more than words. Sarah Windriver arrived with a band of warriors all painted for battle. The council debated, she told Nathan, but family is family. We stand with you. Sheriff McKay rode up with a small group of townsmen. Federal marshal's on his way, but he's still hours out. We'll hold until he arrives. Eleanor looked around at the assembled defenders, white and Indian, former enemies now united. It should have been impossible, but here they were. Cole won't expect this, she said. No. Nathan agreed. He expects to find us alone vulnerable. They set up defensive positions around both the main ranch and the new house. Guards were posted. Women and children who couldn't fight were sent to the root cellar for safety. The attack came at midnight. Cole had learned from his previous failure. This time, there were no warnings, no dramatic announcements. The first sign was when one of the guards cried out an arrow in his shoulder. Not an Indian arrow, but one meant to look like it. He's trying to make it look like an Indian attack, Nathan said grimly. If we all die, he'll blame it on a renegade band. Gunfire erupted from 3 directions. Cole had split his forces trying to divide the defenders. Eleanor found herself at the window of their new house, firing at muzzle flashes in the darkness. Nathan was somewhere outside, moving through the shadows with Sarah's warriors. The battle was chaos. Gunfire shouts the smell of powder and blood. Eleanor saw Lars Olsen go down clutching his leg. Dr. Hayes dragged him to cover while his son James took his place at the barricade. Then she saw Cole himself, creeping along the side of the house. He'd let his men draw fire while he circled around. He was coming for her specifically. Eleanor moved to intercept him, but he was already through the door. They faced each other in the half-built main room, weapons drawn. "Hello, Eleanor," Cole said. His time in prison had changed him. He was leaner, harder, with madness flickering in his eyes. "You cost me everything. You cost yourself everything. Greed and hatred were your downfall." "Hatred?" Cole laughed bitterly. "I tried to save you, offered you money, position, respectability. You chose a savage over civilization. I chose love over your version of civilization. Love..." Cole's face twisted. "You think that animal loves you, he's using you. For land, for protection, for the chance to pollute white blood with his seed." Eleanor's hand went instinctively to her belly, and Cole caught the gesture. His eyes widened. "No," he breathed. "You're not... You haven't..." "I'm carrying Nathan's child," Eleanor said steadily. "And I've never been happier." Cole's face went from red to purple to white. "Abomination," he snarled. "I'll cut it out of you myself." The door exploded inward. Nathan burst through, tackling Cole before he could shoot. The 2 men crashed into the wall, struggling for Cole's gun. Eleanor tried to get a clear shot, but they were moving too fast. Cole was bigger, but Nathan was stronger and faster. Still, Cole fought with the desperation of madness. He pulled a knife, slashing at Nathan's ribs. Nathan grunted in pain, but didn't let go. "You took everything," Cole screamed. "Everything I built." "You built nothing," Nathan gasped, struggling for the knife. "Only stole and destroyed." Eleanor saw her chance. As the men rolled, she brought her rifle butt down hard on Cole's wrist. The knife went flying. Nathan used the opening to land a solid punch to Cole's jaw, stunning him. But Cole wasn't finished. He pulled a hidden derringer from his boot, aiming at Eleanor. "If I can't have this land, no one..." The shot was impossibly loud in the enclosed space. Eleanor flinched, waiting for the pain. But it was Cole who staggered, looking down at the spreading red stain on his chest. Behind him, Sarah Windriver stood in the doorway, smoking rifle in her hands. "No one threatens family," she said simply. Cole dropped to his knees, the derringer falling from nerveless fingers. He looked at Eleanor with fading eyes. "You've destroyed everything. Good." "No," Eleanor said quietly. "We've built something better." Harrison Cole fell forward and didn't move again. Outside, the gunfire was dying down. With Cole dead, his men were either fleeing or surrendering. The defense had held. Nathan pulled Eleanor into his arms, both of them shaking with adrenaline and relief. "Are you hurt?" "No, you..." "Nothing serious." He pulled back, looking at her intently. "What you told Cole about carrying our child. Is it true?" Eleanor nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I was waiting for the right moment." Nathan kissed her deeply, then dropped to his knees, pressing his face against her still flat belly. "A child," he whispered. "Our child. Are you happy?" He looked up at her with wonder in his eyes. Happy doesn't begin to describe it. Sarah approached practical as always. "The marshal's here. He'll want to know what happened." The rest of the night passed in a blur. Marshal Everett took statements, confirmed that Cole's death was justified. Cole's remaining men were arrested. The wounded were tended. Lars Olsen would recover, as would the others who'd been hurt. As dawn broke, Eleanor stood surveying the damage. Bullet holes in their new house, blood on the ground, the lingering smell of gunpowder. But also something else, community. Former enemies working together to clean up, to rebuild. John Martinez approached Nathan, offering his hand. You fought well, like a true warrior. We all did, Nathan replied, shaking his hand. Yes, Martinez agreed. But I mean something more. I was wrong about you. About many things. I'd like you to be my son's godfather. When he's born. Nathan's eyes widened. This was more than acceptance. This was full inclusion into the community. I'd be honored. Reverend Blackstone was helping tend the wounded. He looked up as Eleanor passed. Mrs. Thorne, I know you and Mr. Blackhawk cannot legally marry, but I'd like to offer a blessing on your union, not legally binding, but spiritually meaningful. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. Reverend, that would mean everything. Good. This Sunday after regular services. Anyone who objects can stay home. The ceremony that Sunday was unlike anything Cedar Ridge had seen. The church was packed not just with townspeople, but with Indians from Sarah's band. Eleanor wore her mother's wedding dress altered to fit, and the turquoise necklace from Nathan's uncle. Nathan wore a mix of traditional Indian clothing and white man's formal wear, a visual representation of his two worlds. Reverend Blackstone spoke of love transcending boundaries, of courage in the face of opposition, of building bridges between peoples. When he asked if anyone objected, the silence was profound. Then by the power vested in me by God, if not by the state, I bless this union. What love has joined together, let no one tear asunder. Nathan and Eleanor kissed to thunderous applause. Outside, both communities had prepared a celebration, Indian drums and white man's fiddles, traditional foods from both cultures dancing that crossed all lines. As the sun set, Eleanor and Nathan slipped away to their new house. It still bore scars from the battle, but they'd already begun repairs. No regrets, Nathan asked, as he always did. Only one, Eleanor said. Nathan looked alarmed. What? That Thomas never got to meet you. He would have liked you. You both wanted the same thing, to build something lasting, something good. We're building it, Nathan said, just differently than he imagined. Better than any of us imagined. 6 months later, Eleanor gave birth to a daughter. The labor was long and difficult, with Dr. Hayes attending and Sarah Windriver assisting with traditional remedies. Nathan paced outside like a caged animal until the baby's cry split the air. A girl, Dr. Hayes announced, healthy and perfect. Nathan rushed in to find Eleanor exhausted but radiant, holding a tiny bundle. The baby had Eleanor's pale skin, but Nathan's dark hair and eyes. She's beautiful, Nathan breathed. What should we name her? Such Hope, Eleanor said. Hope Sarah Blackhawk Thorne, for the future and for the woman who helped save us. Sarah Windriver, watching from the corner, wiped away a tear. She'll bridge worlds, she said. This one will change things. The baby's birth brought unexpected visitors. Eleanor's sister Margaret arrived from Chicago prepared to be scandalized. Instead, she found a thriving ranch, a loving family, and a community that had evolved beyond her imagination. I came to rescue you, Margaret admitted, to bring you back to civilization. I am in civilization, Eleanor replied. We're making it ourselves day by day. Margaret stayed for a month, and when she left, she carried stories that would change minds in Chicago. Letters began arriving from other mixed couples inspired by Eleanor and Nathan's story. One day, a photographer from Denver came to document their life. The photograph he took Eleanor, Nathan, and baby Hope standing in front of their house with both white and Indian friends around them would become famous, a symbol of change on the frontier. Years passed. Hope grew strong and smart, equally comfortable in both her parents' worlds. She learned to track from Nathan and to read from Eleanor. She spoke English in her father's native language. She was, as Sarah had predicted, a bridge. More children followed, a son named Thomas after Eleanor's first husband, who Nathan insisted on honoring. Then twin boys named for Nathan's father and Eleanor's father. Each child faced challenges, but also opportunities their parents could never have imagined. The ranch prospered. They raised horses primarily with Nathan's skill and Eleanor's business sense, proving an unbeatable combination. They employed both white and Indian workers, creating a model that others slowly began to follow. One evening, as Eleanor and Nathan sat watching their children play Hope, teaching her brothers to ride just as Nathan had taught her, Eleanor reflected on the journey that had brought them here. That day at the auction, she said, I thought I was saving you. You did. No, we saved each other. Nathan took her hand, still calloused from work, still strong. My mother's story about the warrior and the woman from enemy tribes. She always told it as a tragedy. But it wasn't, Eleanor said. Not for us. No, we rewrote it. And our children will rewrite it again. As the sun set over their land, the ranch Thomas had dreamed of the valley. Nathan's mother had loved. Eleanor thought about all they'd overcome. The hatred, the violence, the impossibility of their love. Yet here they were, not just surviving but thriving, not just together but surrounded by community, not just in love but building a legacy. Eleanor, Nathan said suddenly, there's something I never told you. What? That first day when you bought my freedom, I thought you were either crazy or an angel. And now I know you're both. Eleanor laughed, leaning into him. And you, what are you? A man who was worth saving because someone believed he was. No, Eleanor corrected. A man who was always worth saving. I just had the eyes to see it. Sheriff McKay, aged now, but still wearing his badge, rode up to their porch. Evening, folks. Wanted to let you know the territorial governor's coming next week. Wants to meet the famous couple who changed Cedar Ridge. We didn't change it alone, Eleanor said. No, but you started it. This town's different now. Better. Indians and whites working together, doing business together. Other towns are taking notice. After he left, Nathan and Eleanor walked to the small cemetery on the hill where Nathan's family was buried, where they'd added a marker for Thomas. Do you think they'd approve? Eleanor asked. Our dead. I think they'd understand that love creates its own approval. As they walked back to the house, Hope ran to meet them, her brothers trailing behind. Mama Papa Sarah Windriver's here. She's brought cousins from the reservation. They want to learn about raising horses. Eleanor and Nathan exchanged smiles. The next generation was already building on what they'd started. That night as they lay in bed, Eleanor traced the scars on Nathan's back, faded now to thin silver lines. We've come so far, she said. Further to go. Are you ready? With you always. Outside the ranch slept peacefully. The creek gurgled with water that no one disputed anymore. Horses nickered softly in the corral. In the children's room, Hope told her brothers the story Sarah Windriver had taught her about a warrior and a woman whose love bridged two worlds. But in Hope's version, they lived happily ever after. Because sometimes, against all odds, that's exactly what happens. Eleanor Thorne had walked into a dusty town square and bought a man's freedom, declaring to all who would listen, "Call him savage all you want. I see a man worth saving." She'd been right, but more than that, she'd seen a future worth building, a love worth fighting for, a world worth changing. And in the end, that made all the difference. 10 years later, the newspaper would write about them again. How Nathan Blackhawk became the first Native American to serve on the Territorial Council. How Eleanor Thorne Blackhawk, as she was known, despite the lack of legal marriage, had built the most successful horse ranch in 3 states. How their children were attending university, breaking barriers with every step. But that was the future. Tonight, in the present, they held each other in the darkness, 2 people who'd found each other against impossible odds and refused to let go. I love you, Eleanor whispered. And I love you, Nathan replied. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, always. Outside, a coyote howled and its pack answered. Once that sound had seemed lonely to Eleanor. Now it sounded like home, like family calling to family across the darkness, saying, "We're here, we survived, we're together." And in the end, that's all that mattered.